The Wild West wasn't just about gunfights and gold rushes. It was about men who lived by their own rules, rugged, fearless, and unforgettable. These were the cowboys, lawmen, and outlaws whose faces became legends. Some were heroes, some were criminals, but all of them had something that captured the imagination of a nation. Today, we're bringing them back to life. These are the most handsome cowboys of the Wild West. Wyatt Earp was more than just a lawman. He was a symbol of frontier justice. With his steely gaze and strong jaw, he commanded respect in every town he entered. From Dodge City to Tombstone, his presence alone could quiet a rowdy saloon. He survived the famous gunfight at the OK Corral and lived long enough to see the Wild West become legend. Doc Holliday was a dentist-turned-gambler and one of the deadliest gunfighters of his time. Despite suffering from tuberculosis, his refined Southern features and sharp wit made him unforgettable. He was Wyatt Earp's loyal friend and fought beside him at the OK Corral. His life was short, but his legend endures. Wild Bill Hickok had long hair, a well-groomed mustache, and the confidence of a man who'd stared down death more times than he could count. As a scout, lawman, and gunfighter, he became one of the most famous figures of the frontier. He was shot from behind during a poker game in Deadwood, holding what's now called the dead man's hand. Buffalo Bill Cody wasn't just handsome. He was a showman who turned the Wild West into entertainment. With his long hair, goatee, and buckskin outfits, he looked every bit the frontier hero. His Wild West shows toured the world, bringing the American frontier to audiences who would never see it otherwise. Butch Cassidy was the charming leader of the Wild Bunch gang. Unlike many outlaws, he rarely killed anyone. He preferred to talk his way out of trouble with his good looks and easy smile. He robbed banks and trains across the West before fleeing to South America, where his fate remains a mystery. The Sundance Kid, born Harry Longabout, was Butch Cassidy's partner and best friend. With his clean-cut features and well-tailored clothes, he didn't look like your typical outlaw. He was a crack shot and a ladies' man who charmed his way across the frontier. He fled to South America with Butch and Etta Place, disappearing into legend. John Wesley Hardin claimed to have killed over 40 men, making him one of the deadliest gunfighters in history. Despite his violent reputation, photographs show a handsome man with dark hair and intense eyes. He spent 16 years in prison, studied law, and was practicing as an attorney when he was shot in the back. Tom Horn was a scout, lawman, and hired gun with rugged good looks that matched his dangerous reputation. He worked as a range detective, tracking down cattle rustlers with deadly efficiency. His skills were legendary, but his life ended on the gallows, convicted of a murder many believe he didn't commit. Masterson was a lawman, gambler, and sports writer who embodied the gentleman gunfighter. Always impeccably dressed with a derby hat and cane, he was as comfortable in a saloon brawl as he was in a fine restaurant. He survived the frontier era and spent his later years as a respected journalist in New York. Johnny Ringo was a gunfighter with a mysterious past and cultured manners that seemed out of place in the rough frontier. His good looks and educated background made him stand out among outlaws. He was found dead under a tree in Arizona. His death ruled as suicide, though many suspected foul play. Cole Younger rode with Jesse James and survived countless gunfights before being captured after the disastrous Northfield bank robbery. Tall and handsome, he spent 25 years in prison, was pardoned, and lived out his days as a law-abiding citizen, lecturing against crime. Luke Short was a small man with big courage and the good looks of a riverboat gambler. He was friends with Wyatt Earp and Masterson and survived multiple gunfights. He dressed like a gentleman and carried himself like one, proving that deadly skill didn't require a rough exterior. Frank James, older brother of Jesse James, was the thoughtful outlaw who loved Shakespeare and poetry. His intelligent eyes and strong features made him a natural leader. After years of robbery, he surrendered, stood trial, and was acquitted. He lived peacefully into old age, a rare ending for a Wild West outlaw. Jesse James was the most famous outlaw in American history. His boyish good looks and Robin Hood reputation made him a folk hero, even though he was a cold-blooded robber. He was shot in the back by a member of his own gang, seeking the reward money. His death made him immortal. Clay Allison was known as the gentleman gunfighter for his polite manners and deadly skill. His handsome features hid a violent temper that made him one of the most feared men in the West. He killed numerous men in gunfights, but died in a freak accident when he fell from a wagon. Thompson was a gambler and gunfighter with refined features and expensive tastes. He served as a lawman in Austin, Texas, despite his outlaw past. He survived dozens of gunfights before being ambushed and killed in a San Antonio saloon. Dallas Stoudenmire was a lawman with movie star looks and a reputation for fearlessness. Standing 6 feet tall, he cleaned up El Paso's streets through sheer force of will and fast draws. His temper eventually led to his death in a shootout with a former friend. Bill Tilghman was one of the last old-time lawmen, serving from the Wild West era into the 1920s. His clean-cut appearance and steady demeanor made him respected by both lawmen and outlaws. He was killed in the line of duty at age 70, still wearing a badge. Garrett was the lawman who killed Billy the Kid. Tall and lean with a stern face, he looked the part of a frontier sheriff. Despite his famous victory, his life after was troubled, and he was mysteriously murdered, with the killer never found. Billy the Kid died at just 21 years old, but his boyish face became iconic. Despite killing 8 men, he had a charm that made people like him. He was fast with a gun and faster with his smile. Garrett shot him in the dark, ending the life of the West's most famous young outlaw. Jim Courtright was known as Long-Haired Jim for obvious reasons. As a lawman and later a hired gun, his imposing presence and good looks made him a frontier celebrity. He died in a famous gunfight with Luke Short on the streets of Fort Worth. Kingfisher dressed like royalty and had the looks to match his nickname. With fancy embroidered clothes and silver-trimmed guns, he was the most stylish outlaw in Texas. He tried going straight as a lawman, but was killed in an ambush alongside Thompson. Texas Jack Omohundro was a scout and showman who performed with Buffalo Bill. His frontier good looks and genuine skills made him a star. He died young from pneumonia, but his legacy as one of the original Wild West showmen lives on. Cherokee Bill was a mixed-race outlaw with striking features who terrorized Indian Territory. Despite his youth, he killed at least 7 men before being hanged at age 20. His life was short, violent, and became the stuff of legend. Harvey Logan, known as Kid Curry, was the deadliest member of the Wild Bunch. His dark good looks hid a violent temper. He killed at least 9 lawmen before being cornered and taking his own life rather than surrender. Ketchum, called Black Jack, was a train robber with rugged features and a reputation for audacity. His attempt to rob a train single-handedly led to his capture. He was hanged, and the execution was botched so badly that his head was nearly severed. If you enjoyed meeting these cowboys and outlaws, hit that subscribe button to see more historical figures brought back to life. Leave a like if this video took you back to the Wild West, and tell me in the comments, which cowboy would you want to ride with? Your support keeps these stories alive.